Ethan, my husband, predictable. That was his charm. Every morning black coffee, 2 sugars. Every evening a kiss on the cheek, precisely at 6:15 p.m. when he walked in. He was a creature of habit. I loved that about him. Once. We met at a farmer's market, his methodical way of picking out tomatoes endearing. He proposed on a Tuesday, claiming it was statistically less crowded. He was pragmatic, logical, the opposite of impulsive. Our life was a symphony of routine, each day orchestrated with precision, until it wasn't, until the music changed. It started subtly, a flicker in the reflection of the hallway mirror. Ethan's eyes, usually a warm hazel, were dark, almost black. I blinked. The familiar warmth returned. Must have been the light. Then came the whispers, soft murmurings at night, just on the edge of hearing. When I turned to face him, his chest rose and fell in the rhythmic pattern of sleep. My hand trembled as I reached out to touch him. He was ice cold. Just stress, I told myself. But a seed of unease had been planted, taking root in the fertile soil of my doubt. The whispers grew louder, morphing into guttural sounds, a language I didn't understand. It was always at night, always when I was on the verge of sleep. "Ethan," I'd whisper, my voice trembling. He'd stir, mumbling incoherently, his words slurred and nonsensical. In the morning he'd deny it, said he slept soundly. One night I caught him standing by the window, bathed in the eerie glow of the street lamp. His back was to me, but I could have sworn his head was tilted at an unnatural angle. "Ethan, what are you doing?" He turned, a slow, deliberate turn, and for a fleeting moment a grotesque smile stretched across his face. Then he blinked, and he was just Ethan again, looking at me with concern. "You okay, honey? You look pale." The man who shared my bed was no longer the man I married. His touch, once comforting, now sent chills down my spine. His eyes, once filled with love, were cold, calculating. He started doing strange things, leaving raw meat out on the counter, drawing strange symbols in the condensation on the bathroom mirror, talking to himself in that guttural language, even in broad daylight. One evening during dinner he stopped mid-sentence, a forkful of spaghetti halfway to his mouth. His eyes widened, a look of pure terror flashing across his face. Then, just as quickly, it vanished. He continued eating as if nothing had happened, but I saw it, the fear in his eyes. Or was it the fear in mine, reflected back at me? "You're imagining things," he'd say, his voice smooth, reassuring. "You're just stressed, honey. You need to relax." But I wasn't imagining it. The strange occurrences, the guttural whispers, the chilling look in his eyes, it was all real. Wasn't it? He started hiding things from me. His phone. Notes he scribbled in a language I didn't recognize. He became distant, a stranger wearing the skin of my husband. Doubt gnawed at me. Was I going crazy? Everyone told me how lucky I was to have Ethan, how he was such a good man, but I saw the truth, didn't I? I tried to tell people. My friends, family, they listened politely, their faces etched with concern. But I saw the pity in their eyes, the unspoken question, was I losing my mind? Even my own reflection seemed to mock me. The dark circles under my eyes, the haunted look in my once bright eyes. I was a stranger to myself. Ethan, sensing my growing desperation, was the picture of concern. He held me tight, whispering soothing words. but his touch felt like a brand, his words ashes in my mouth. I was trapped in a nightmare, and the worst part was no one believed me. The phone rang in the dead of night. I jolted awake, my heart pounding. Ethan was beside me, but his breathing was shallow, his body stiff. He was pretending to sleep. I picked up the phone, a raspy voice on the other end. "He's not who you think he is." The line went dead. I turned to Ethan. His eyes were open now, gleaming in the darkness. A slow, chilling smile spread across his face. "Who was that?" he asked, his voice a low growl. I wanted to scream, to run, but I was paralyzed with fear. Something was terribly wrong. I knew it. I found it tucked under his pillow the next morning. A small, folded piece of paper. My name was scrawled on it in Ethan's handwriting, but the letters were shaky, distorted. My hands trembled as I unfolded the note. 3 words etched in ink that seemed to writhe on the page. "Run. Don't look back." A cold dread washed over me. This wasn't Ethan. This wasn't a joke. Something had taken over my husband, something dark and sinister. But where could I run? Who could I trust? He walked in that evening, right on time, just like always. But something was different. Gone was the familiar warmth in his eyes, the gentle curve of his lips. In their place was a chilling emptiness, a void that seemed to suck the air from my lungs. His skin was paler than usual, stretched taut over his bones, and his eyes, oh, his eyes! They burned with an unholy fire. He smiled, a slow, predatory grin that sent shivers down my spine. "You're not leaving," he said, his voice a guttural rasp. "You're mine now." He took a step towards me, and I knew with bone-chilling certainty that this was no longer my Ethan. This was something else, something monstrous, and I was trapped.